Okay, you guys, story time. So, back when I was 19, I grew up in this really small town and I was working at this little bar and grill restaurant in the town that I lived in. And I met the man that owned the place, and I just thought that he was the coolest thing ever, girl. He was 32 and I was 19, and he paid attention to me. So I was like, okay, okay. So I started seeing this guy. He lived about an hour and a half away from the town that I grew up in. Him and his partners had several different restaurants throughout the state. But I started seeing him, and I eventually moved to the town that he lived in, and I worked in multiple of the restaurants. And so one day, I was at home working on schoolwork. Now, mind you, there were signs of this, but I'll go back to that. So one day I'm sitting at home working on schoolwork because I was in college at the time, and they had just opened, I think it was their seventh or eighth restaurant. So they were required to put out those little videos for sexual harassment, safety, OSHA, all that stuff. And so they had videos. He called me at the house and he said, "Hey, I want you to watch the safety video, and give me your opinion. Tell me what you think about it." So I said, okay, I can do that. I finished up my homework. I took then the VCR tape and stuck it in the VCR. And initially it just went to the fuzzy screen. And so I'm sitting there for a minute and I'm like, okay, well, it was marked the name of the restaurant. So, I thought for sure I had the right tape. Anyhow, right as I'm getting ready to turn it off and call him and tell him there's absolutely nothing on this video, a screen pops on, and it is the bathroom in one of the restaurants that I worked at, that he owned. And it's just a black and white picture of the bathroom. It was just one of those single stall bathrooms, really small restroom, really small restaurant, so small bathroom. And the view was from the ceiling, shooting right down at the toilet, okay? And then the sink was off to this side. You could see everything. And you see this young girl walk in. And when I say young girl, I'm saying she was probably 19, 20. She was probably about my age at the time. She walks in. She uses the restroom. She washes her hands. And she walks out. And I'm watching this like, what in the world is going on? So then another girl comes in. Same thing. Uses the restroom. Leaves the restroom. Screen goes black. Pops back on. And this cycle repeats itself about 16 times. And mind you, the restroom is a very private place. So it's where we do our most private things. We go in, we use the restroom, we check our makeup, see if we've got any boogers, check our teeth, all that stuff, right? So I am just baffled, right? I'm trying to figure out what is going on here. Well, long story short, my boyfriend, or the restaurant owner, had hidden a camera in the women's restroom and had edited this. So he cut out any women that he didn't want to watch using the restroom, right? So I don't know what to do about this, right? So I call my mother and she tells me to call the police. So I call the police, but I had not turned this video off, right? It comes back on, and the owner proceeds to walk in to the women's restroom, turn around like he was checking his camera, lay paper towels out across the sink, and then service himself for his own camera. And I mean, put on a show for his own camera. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this was my first serious boyfriend. And he was a nasty, nasty pervert. So the police came in, they shut down the restaurant, they collected all the evidence. There were 16 women on that tape, including a younger sibling of mine who was underage at the time. Ultimately, he lost his restaurant. He lost all of his money. He had to pay out the wazoo because of this. But he only ended up doing 90 days in jail. Because at the time, there were no real voyeurism laws. This was in 2002. So, anyways, he did 90 days in jail, and I don't know where he is these days. But hopefully, he's not recording women or anyone in a public restroom.